Jerry Falwell was a Southern Baptist minister who founded a college called Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia. Reverend Falwell was outspoken in his belief that AIDS was God's punishment for gay people, and that LGBT organizations had angered God into causing the 9/11 attacks in New York City. Over 10 years ago, I participated with a group called Soul Force, who visited his school in order to effect social change. We used a specific tactic at the school that is not new to social justice movements. We'd been warned that if we were to step onto campus as we had planned to do and deliver our dialogue to engage with students, that we would be arrested immediately for trespassing and taken away to jail. The leader of our group took the time to write a heartfelt letter explaining our core message, mainly that to expel LGBT people from Christian colleges was anti-Christian, and we believe that the Bible should not be used as a tool of exclusion or oppression. 25 people from our group held that letter within their hands and were prepared to deliver this message to the campus. The media was there to record our civil disobedience, and then one at a time, a person would step forward onto campus and read the letter so that those gathered students and wider community could hear a viewpoint that was at that point denied by the homophobic culture on campus. When the first person stepped onto campus, they might get 1 or 2 sentences read before they were arrested and taken away. Then the next person would step up and continue the message from the last place that the person before them had left off. On and on this continued until the entire letter was read in its entirety, and all 25 people were arrested, but they had been willing to pay the price for the delivery of a message that they felt their life was worth dedicating. Jesus employs a similar tactic in our scripture today. He had been on board with John the Baptist's message of changing hearts and minds because the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And the story directly before this one in our text, the story of Jesus' temptation, he is wooed by a character named Satan into considering accepting a prestigious, well-paid position within the empire's administration's cabinet. Jesus declines the invitation. When he hears that John has been arrested and taken away to jail, he steps right into the place where John had left off. And he continues the exact same message without missing a beat. He says word for word the good news which John had already been preaching. Change your hearts and minds, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It was Jesus' inaugural sermon, and he asks people to stop pledging allegiance and loyalty to the powers that be, which are stripping people of their human rights, and instead to join their energy together in order to bring healing to all around them. In this short selection of scripture, Jesus models a wonderful step-by-step method of how to resist a government which fails to serve the needs of the people. Step 1, make yourself aware of the need. Text says when Jesus heard that John had been arrested, he went back to Galilee. Jesus knew that without John's leadership, the important message and movement of changing hearts and minds might lose momentum. Then comes step 2. Settle into a small enough context where you will be able to effect change. The text says he left Nazareth and settled in Capernaum. Jesus left the big city of Nazareth and settled into a smaller town, far from the hustle and bustle of Jerusalem. He wanted to start small in order to build strength that would be able to last. The third step is to become clear about one's mission. The scripture says from that time on, Jesus began proclaiming the message, change your hearts and minds, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. He believed in the mission, but he knew he couldn't accomplish it all on his own. So step 4 is to gather helpers who believe in the mission as well. The scripture says, as Jesus was walking, he watched two brothers and said to them, "Come, follow me. I will make you fishers of humankind." He walked farther and caught sight of a second pair of brothers and called them, and they ended up abandoning their boat and father to follow Jesus. Together, many can do much more than just one person alone. The final step is to do the work. The scripture says Jesus traveled throughout Galilee, teaching, proclaiming good news, and healing. On Monday of this week, many joined together to continue the message of Martin Luther King Jr., that message that we should not judge one another by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. There was over 140 groups who participated in the parade that took over 2 hours for each entry to cross the starting line. I was there representing both of our churches, and we were up towards the beginning of the parade so that when we crossed the finish line, Dana and I decided to turn around and walk the entire parade route back to the beginning so that we would be able to see who all else was participating. We saw Victor there. There were many sororities and fraternities, businesses and nonprofit organizations that had banded together to show support in continuing this dream of Martin Luther King Jr. There was also many black churches present and accounted for, but I only saw about 3 or 4 churches that have a majority of white members that chose to participate in the parade. It made me wonder, why aren't there more white folks marching for the rights of people of color? Why didn't the media give more than a few seconds of mention, if any at all, to this important and long-standing message? Making ourselves aware and then settling in, becoming clear about our mission, gathering helpers, and doing the work. On Friday, many dealt with the inauguration in a variety of ways. Some boycotted watching television by turning their TV to a station that was not covering the festivities in order to be counted by the networks as actively disagreeing with the actions and policies that the newly installed president had set forth. Some chose to volunteer and serve others that day, actively giving their time and energy to turn the world into the kind of place that they would want it to be. I attended a comedy event organized by the Vice President of Black Lives Matter, OKC. He wanted to raise money for the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, and all the proceeds from the event went towards defending and preserving the individual rights and liberties that are supposed to be guaranteed by the Constitution and laws of our country. About 3 times more people than the organizers were anticipating ended up showing up. They had to put in 4 extra rows of chairs, and yet people were still sitting on the floor everywhere. Make yourself aware of the needs. Settle in. Become clear about mission. Gather helpers, and do the work. On Saturday, a sizable group of us from Cathedral of Hope gathered at the Regional Food Bank to help and feed the hungry. Oklahoma is one of the nation's most hungriest states. It was a fun way to spend quality time outside of the context of church on the Saturday morning, making ourselves aware, settling in, becoming clear about mission and gathering helpers, and doing the work. I left the food bank early to go meet up with church folk at the Women's March at the Capitol. Reports say that there were between 8,000 and 12,000 people present downtown. Folks that have never been to a march before showed up with their pink hats and handmade signs with clever slogans of resistance, and were introduced to the energy that can be created when so many join their voices together. This time, I saw dozens of clergy from churches far and wide represented within the mix. It filled me with joy. But at the same time, I couldn't help but think, why is this the first time we're seeing so many put their foot to the pavement? I wish that we could have seen all of these people marching for the rights of African Americans, for the rights of the indigenous communities, for the rights of the Muslim Americans, and for immigrants. I'm so glad that so many are there to support women. And my prayer is that after so many have tasted what it is like to join forces and to have each other's backs, that we will continue to do so. Making ourselves aware of the need, settling in, becoming clear about mission, gathering helpers, lots of them, and doing the work. This is probably going to be our task for the next 4 to 40 years, to have everyone's backs, so that one of us, if one of us is silenced or taken away for standing up too boldly, I pray that the next person is waiting in the wings, ready to continue the message. Jesus stepped into ministry when the empire imprisoned John. I hope that we may be so bold as to follow in Jesus' footsteps, to make ourselves aware, to watch documentaries, to read books, to listen to folks tell their personal stories, to follow our intuition, because an insight the size of a mustard seed is powerful enough to bring down mountain-sized illusions. To get involved in particular contexts so that we can affect change. To join with other communities, to become comfortable within their contexts so that we can build relationships that are able to move mountains. To stay clear about mission, to change hearts and minds because we are in the business of creating a kingdom of God here on earth as it is in heaven. And to gather helpers because we can't do this alone. And most importantly, to do the work. I know that we can, and I know that we will. May it be so.